receiving channeled messages from the angels, from your guides, from the extraterrestrials that are all out there in the galaxy. Oftentimes, these messages may come with a bit of confusion. And today we're going to give a little insight about what the perspective is with channeling. Right, Tom?
Here on Enthusiastically Spiritual.
If you don't know where you're at, Tom just channeled that. So I want to really talk about channeling, Tom, because I'm noticing more and more YouTube channels that are starting, and what they have on there is people in the woods channeling in their bedrooms, channeling here, channeling there, and channeling all these messages for people to listen in on. And I've been involved in mediumship and channeling for quite a few years. I don't even know how, maybe it was 7 years, a time frame that I actually took classes with a guy from the Arthur Findlay School in London. He came over to Florida, and so we would do twice a year, we would do an extended week with him. So I have a real love for channeling because I found it really easy. And I would like to definitely share the first experience I ever had with channeling and what it was. So if you guys don't know me by now, I'm pretty gangbusters about just doing stuff. I just show up. I just do it, right? I don't think a lot about stuff. I'll be honest with you. And Tom might be able to say, yeah, that's true. So I went to this event. I did a couple workshops with this guy, and then I went to his week-long event. And so we showed up there, and we're in this, semicircle, and he calls us up one at a time to the center of the circle, and you're in front of everybody. And at this moment, he shares about how to really tune in and to really allow spirit to come in. And really, like I said, I had never done this before. I just was like, okay, cool. And I get up on the chair, and I sit down, I close my eyes, and I start, tuning into, the realm behind me. Because what he did is he kind of suggested that what you do is you relax, and then you allow behind you to kind of flow in to you and through you. So the next thing I knew, as I'm sitting there in front of all these people, there might have been like 15, 20 people there, I felt myself get big, like my whole being was as large as the room. And then I started speaking, and I started sharing a message, and it was the most incredible, profound thing I'd ever experienced. And again, I think a lot of it is because when I do something, if I'm not thinking about it, I get out of my own way. And so, I recognized later when we were regrouping afterwards, okay, so, wow. And some people in the room could see things, so they could tell me, what it looked like. And I knew that it was what we would call a Hathor. So some of you guys may have heard of the Hathors before. And so I knew that that was a being that I was bringing through. And so that was my first ever experience of channeling. And it was amazing. But, and so we did it the whole, the weekend, whatever, and got all kinds of messages about the earth and about Mother Nature and about the world and, the people in the room and etc. But after that, I was kind of like, okay, well, what am I to do with that now? So that's where I took more training and kind of went along the path. But I just knew for myself I'm not here to get in front of people and channel. It's just not what I'm here to do. I have other things that I can share with the world versus that. So what is your experience with channeling, Tom?
Well, my experience is, frankly, just working with my guidance in every situation. And, we were talking a little bit earlier about this idea of, we talk about living in the now and being in the present. And time isn't really real. The past is to learn from, the present is where we are, and the future is, what we dream of, kind of a thing. So when I'm in the present and I'm relaxed, I can channel a positive message. I can channel positive solutions to situations. And so I found that when I get chills, that's when my spiritual helpers or my guides move close. And I know that I'm right on with what, I need to channel in that moment.
Interesting. So the reason why I wanted to share and talk about channeling today is because as I'm viewing a lot of people out there in the world channeling, some of the energy I I resonate with immediately. So I know, okay, and I, check with my guidance and okay, is that, are they really channeling a higher source, right? Because that's the thing that I think about a lot of times with these channels is that, as well as we can channel confusion, we can channel confused energy through us that may come out as something that people think, oh, wow, that's, that's a high source energy, or I want to follow that. And it can be confusion. So I like what Tom talks about with, moving with our guidance and our own energy of, support around us, because then I know exactly what I'm channeling.
Mm.
And so moving out into the world and seeing what other people are doing, of course, a lot of people are doing some great, amazing channels and, bringing forth amazing, messages, but are they all from clear spirit, or are they some, that are confused? So what's your thoughts on this, Tom?
Well, my thoughts are that, it's important that I tune into the higher spirit or the highest source that's available to me. And, I have a purpose and a thrust here on planet Earth. My purpose is to learn and grow. And my thrust is the way that the vibration that I go about that, or almost another way for me, how I feel about it is it's my pivot point. So my pivot point is to be happy and free. And if I have that feeling that I'm flowing with that kind of a feeling, I'm really in my thrust. This is where my guidance or my spiritual helpers is another word for the same thing, or the higher source, the angels, they can help me because those are souls that we've talked about before that have mastered the lessons that I'm here to learn. So, it's great to hear from other souls that may have a higher perspective or be aware of the spiritual side of things where, there's other dimensions than the four dimensions we're aware of, kind of a thing, or three dimensions, however you want to think about it. And it's great to hear wisdom. It's great to hear that bigger picture perspective, as long as I can make it practical, because I'm here for my purpose to learn and grow. And my feeling is that what my guidance are sharing with me is that, we need to be more aware of the solutions that are available to all of us, working from that loving, positive energy. We've been so trained to compete, to overcompete. A little competition's good, but to overcompete and to fight. And we've been trained that life is supposed to be a struggle, one way or another. And that somehow, some of the religions will say we're little worms and we don't deserve it. And you've got to deserve it, kind of a thing. Well, the truth is that love in a way does conquer all, but I have to be in the present. I have to tune into that positive vibration. One of the thoughts that comes to me is a friend of mine who was a Navy SEAL. I love to say that. He says, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And to me, that's a way of thinking about being in the present, that I'm really tuned into my feeling part, because this is how the messages come for me, is more through my feelings. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with you, because when I was really channeling for those years, I noticed that it's a vibration. So the vibration, I feel the vibration, then I bring that forth through through my throat chakra, right? And through out into whatever I'm saying. So it's definitely a feeling. And I think that's why with so much being shared out there right now in the world, I can feel for myself if I resonate with what someone's saying and if that feels like a love vibration.
Sounds good. If it's a positive message, and a lot of the I guess one of the signs, there's many levels of consciousness, and when we pass on, there are levels. I find to get, kind of on another subject, that to get too caught up in how the levels are organized and how the hierarchy works, I feel, to me, that's more of an intellectual discussion rather than being in my feelings. Because in my feelings, the things of spirit are really very simple. I'm here. I'm here now. I have beautiful people around me. I have great opportunity to have experiences that will help me learn the spiritual lessons that I'm involved with.
So I think the key word for myself in that, what you just said, was caught, like caught up in things. So that's, and we've watched a lot of things about cults and other things like that, where people are enamored with the person bringing forth the message, enamored with bringing, a person bringing forth the channeled information to the masses. Hey, we can go back to Jesus. He did that, right? But but his message was from love, but it did take a whole new turn and spin once he was passed on, right?
Yeah, well, people overorganized it. And then once they created a priesthood, which is, now you've got to look outside yourself, we'll interpret your feelings for you.
Yep.
So
Yep.
basically, I always talk about the fact that we have, as part of our soul nature, is our true feelings. And our intellect is our brain, what we have here while we're on planet Earth. And I imagine in the spiritual sense, there's the idea of mind, body, and spirit. What we have here is a reflection. That's the sense I have of how things work in the bigger picture. But we often get over organized to the point where when the intellectual part of it becomes a distraction, then I know I'm out of balance. And what do I mean by a distraction? When it's a distraction from what I'm in the here and now, in the present, what I'm meant to be learning, or what's my experience in the present. I don't even want to say that I think so much about, well, what I'm meant to be learning. I just gauge whether I'm feeling happy and free and in a flow, and if I'm enjoying those challenges. If I keep facing certain experiences that kind of slap me in the face and I go, how did that keep coming up? Usually that's because I'm not aware of what the core lesson is. And then once I'm aware of that lesson, I can start directing my energy. So my guidance is great at helping me with that. Everybody else is just sharing, so those higher souls that like to share from a bigger picture perspective, I'm not judging. I'm not saying anything's wrong with anything, but I have my own true feelings, my sensitivity to gauge. And then I can always recheck with my guidance, what's the truth in that for me? If I don't ask what the truth in that for me is, then I'm kind of missing the whole point, because then it becomes a distraction. And then we start moving into this way of worship and awe of this, being and all that, when really I love to, in a way, I love to say this lately, is that really it's all about me. It's about my consciousness and me being in the present. But the great thing is when I'm concerned about myself and where my energy's at, it helps everybody else, because the more relaxed I am, the more positive I am, the more that it allows other people to stay positive or be in that positive flow for the solutions. But we've really been trained, and this is some of the troubles we're facing these days, is that we look so much for outer authority to take care of us or to think for us. And, there's always going to be folks who are a bit more organized than you and me. And, but I always have my true feelings, or my feelings and my sensitivity to gauge, to what point I accept some of what they say.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because if you don't have your own inner wisdom really strong, and that pivot strong, and that understanding of, what your energy feels like and how you work with other people's energy, that's where that can really be a downfall. And that's why we are so passionate about supporting other people out there to understand how to work with their energy, how to really connect with their spiritual helpers, how to connect with their inner wisdom, because of the fact that these are really major keys in all of our existence as spiritual beings, that will help us really understand what's for me, what's not for me. And like Tom was saying, being in the now moment, and not being in the, in the ethereal moment of, what's tomorrow look like. And I just come into mind about a lady that I've been just viewing a couple times
Mhm.
lately on YouTube, where she brings in her guides and shares, and all the messages are for what's coming, what's coming, what's coming. And I'm like, that also, when I'm listening, I mean, I really resonate with her, and I do think she's coming from love, and I think it is probably her guidance. But again, it's that, like, it's not the now. It's like, okay, what do I do with where I'm at right now? And not to say, again, like you're saying, someone outside of me is telling me what to do, but it is good. I enjoy getting a readings, and I enjoy, some tarot once in a while, because of the fact that I get confirmation for myself on what I'm channeling on a daily basis. Because Tom and I, like, we work with our guidance, and I'm sure a lot of you listeners out there also do. And so when those insights come in, well, that's a channel. And so,
Mm.
I enjoy, it's like almost like it's like a play thing for me. Like, hey, let me go on YouTube and play and see what they're saying now, or what's coming through this one person I really like. But for myself, and like Tom is saying, without putting words in his mouth, he just said it, but is I get my own answers for myself. I channel my own information for myself. And so, and I guess that's, honestly, in looking at where I'm at and where I was at when I was doing channeling, training, I really believe that's probably why I didn't go into it, because I don't want to tell other people a message for them, because it may not be the right thing to tell them. It may not. And so I want other people to get their own answers and their own channeled information, just like myself. So I really feel that is why I didn't go down that road, go down the road of being a medium, because I took a lot of trainings this lifetime, and a lot of, and opened up a lot of areas that I could have definitely explored. And that just wasn't what I'm here to do.
Yeah, I think one of the keys is that if you're working with souls who gently, there's very sophisticated confusion, and they can gently move you into this sense of devotion and kind of a thing. There's always, a lot of truth in it. But again, this is what the great tool that we have is that, one, we have our own sensitivity, that we learn to clarify what are my feelings, versus what I'm thinking, and really work with my spiritual helpers. One thing I wanted to talk about is that I might be in a business situation or a family situation or a social situation, and let's say I'm, having a beer with some friends, and somebody comes up and just tells me their troubles, or, some incident that, we're friends. So they want to kind of regroup that, and, just sharing with me. And, the thing I can do is just mentally kind of cleanse, take a deep breath and relax, and then just ask my guidance, on the spot. Can I be of service here? Is there something, I need to share? Now, I do this at light speed. Like, it's not like a big thinking exercise, but it's just kind of a feeling of, is there something? And, like the thought may come, hey, tomorrow's another day. And that's all they needed to hear, something positive, light. Through that challenge, you might find that you become stronger. So, one of the little clues that I like to share with people, that's been shared with me, is that, if somebody comes to you with their troubles, and you give them one solution, and then they keep talking about their troubles, and then you give them a second solution, right? And then they keep talking about their troubles. Then you give them a third solution. And if they keep talking about their troubles, back off, because they're not ready, for that channel message. But always look at things from the positive point of view. I find that takes a lot of discipline, for me to do that. And it's easy when I'm relaxed and everything's going my way. But when things sort of surprise me, in other words, I'm having a lesson, that something I didn't trust a hunch, or, something like that, or that's happened in the past, I got to look at it from the point of view of, well, what's the positive side of this? And have that inner strength, you might say, to just look at that, and this is what I do differently. Because the more that we get caught in if you're out of balance in your feeling nature, you're going to feel guilt and worry. If you're out of balance in your intellectual nature, you're going to feel anxiety and depression. Anyway, I shared a lot there. What gets stimulated by some of those words that
What gets
were
stimulated?
flowing for me?
What gets stimulated in me? My God, Tom, what kind of question is that? Well, I think comes to me about all that you just shared is the word
I
relax.
do like to stimulate, Teresa.
Yeah, poke, poke. No, is the word relax. And that truly is the key for all you listeners out there to get your own channeled information, because when you're relaxed in that state, and if you have cleansed your energy field, and we've shared that a couple times on the on this podcast, as well as if you have my book, The Soul Quake Survival Guide, there's 3 cleanses in there, and it starts with the personal cleansing with yourself. And so doing, or whatever, however you cleanse, cleansing your aura and then relaxing. And again, like Tom mentioned a second ago, it doesn't have to be like I'm sitting here for 30 minutes cleansing and relaxing. It's like, no, it can happen in a snap. Literally it can, because, spirits, they're right there with you. All you got to do is really the intention. And like Tom's saying, take a deep breath and, and exhale, and then just, get the insights, the channeled information that you need to get from your guidance, because those are the souls that are going to, that love back and support you and know what you need in the moment that you're asking for
Right.
support.
Yeah. And, we're going to magnetize those learning opportunities, whether we like it or not. But,
And damn, we do.
Yeah.
All the time.
For me, spiritual growth is, as I move through those opportunities, I can leverage my experiences and experience into wisdom, rather than just kind of keep facing it. And, if I keep facing it and it keeps hitting me in one form or another in different situations, then I know that I might be aware of a spiritual lesson from an intellectual point of view, but I don't have it in my feelings yet. So one of the lessons recently that I was regrouping was this feeling of limitless, being limitless. And as I tune back into that feeling that I'm limitless, back into that big picture, there's freedom there, and there's hope there, and there's a positive feeling to it. And now, based on that, I'm not going to hold myself back with thoughts that, well, maybe I'm not good enough, or I don't know this, or instead of looking for or tuning into the solutions, like it's not hard. It's one of the things, I guess I mentioned this a little earlier, we've been trained that this is supposed to be hard. This is, now certainly there are challenges, and in our environment, they can be created, and we're in this environment by choice. So there must be something to learn in these challenges. And that's where I want to say that, if a person doesn't start unfolding, their awareness of what's them, what's not them. And I mean that from the point of view of thoughts and feelings, because we're like big radio receivers and transmitters, from that is an analogy that we could use, we're one with all in a sense. So it really just depends on what I want to tune into. Do I want to tune into the negative part, or do I want to tune into the positive part? But I know I have to be patient, because there's many levels of consciousness here. Others are having their learning experiences. And to me, that's a good reason to, take a look at your book, is to start getting prepared to work with spirits in a more conscious way. You've always been working with them, but in a more conscious way, because when talking about the future, one of the messages I've got from my guidance is that, yeah, it's going to be a little, redefining these. There's a lot going on right now. And remember, we were talking the other day about, how, and you mentioned that you like to listen to other folks on YouTube and podcasts and so forth. And so do I, just to get a bit of confirmation. But, in business, in politics, in spiritual things, everybody's talking about this new awareness or this great awakening. And, you see it in all aspects of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, why we're talking about channeling today, because this is a big part of the awakening, because there's so many people waking up and hearing from spirit, hearing from their
Right.
guidance. And so, and being inspired to share those amazing messages with others. So I think that was, this is a good place to probably, let's channel down now, channel down. So, yeah, so I don't know.
Well, I want to end up with these remarks. And remember, there's many levels of consciousness, but you always have your guidance, to tune into. And, You can always work with that cleansing technique to get that energy flowing in your hands and go down your brow and come back behind your neck and add a positive affirmation to it. And, but there's one other thing I'd like to say.
What is that, Tom?
Remember,
What?
life is too short
Oh my God, you just go for it, don't you?
not to
To
be enthusiastic about your unique
channeled journey. How about that
channel
one? Hey,
journey.
changed it up. Thanks so much for listening in to another episode of Enthusiastically Spiritual. We had fun. We hope that you maybe got some insights for your journey and also for channeling and where it's all at right now, because it's a big world out there and there's a lot going on.
Thank you for letting us share.
Hey everyone, for a spiritual perspective that you won't find anywhere else but right here, please make sure you subscribe.